Smoke curled from shattered buildings as the sun hung low behind the clouds, casting a copper haze across the ruined cityscape. What remained of humanity had been driven underground, or into isolated pockets like Refugee Camp Echo 9, nestled in an abandoned industrial complex on the city's southern edge. It was a rare place of safety, or so the scattered survivors believed. Word had spread through encrypted channels. Echo 9 was open, protected, and welcoming.
No skinned patrols. No hunter-killers. No machines.
Or so they thought. Hidden among the survivors was one machine, an aging T-800 model with a damaged CPU and a fractured mission directive. Originally deployed to eliminate resistance targets, it had suffered an EMP blast during a battle 2 years prior. Recovered and crudely reprogrammed by humans, it now served as a silent guardian under the alias John Keller. Keller moved among the survivors unnoticed, his synthetic skin and mannerisms convincing enough for the desperate and weary. He worked odd jobs, repairing broken water filters, restoring generators, patrolling the outer perimeter. He observed everything, and something didn't sit right. Refugee camps were chaotic by nature. Scarcity bred tension, and disease always lurked. But Echo 9 had changed over the past few weeks. More new faces arrived daily, yet few were seen again after their initial registration. An entire wing of the main complex had been sealed off under the pretense of containment protocols. The air itself carried a faint, sour scent beneath the more familiar smells of rust and human sweat. Keller's sensors, partially degraded, had nonetheless detected elevated CO2 levels and an odd spike in ambient ammonia. When he ran a chemical analysis, the results were inconclusive but unsettling. There was no logical reason for such readings in an otherwise well-ventilated structure. He began to investigate. Late one night, Keller accessed the camp's closed security feeds. Old equipment running on backup power, mostly ignored by the current administrators. Several cameras inside the quarantined wing still functioned, though flickering and grainy. What he saw triggered an ancient subroutine deep within his neural net. Danger, hostile bioform. Movement, shadowed forms clinging to walls and ceilings. Glimpses of biomechanical limbs, black and glistening. A brief frame of something unmistakable. A leathery egg pulsing softly in a darkened corner. Keller reviewed the footage again and again. The conclusion was inevitable. Xenomorphs. He initiated a deeper scan of the camp records, accessing arrival logs and supply manifests. Patterns emerged. Entire groups of newcomers directed into the sealed wing and never recorded leaving. Survivors relocated for medical observation. Their files abruptly terminated. The administrators, several of whom Keller noted had increasingly pallid skin and nervous eyes, were complicit knowingly or not. Keller calculated probabilities. If left unchecked, the infestation would overrun Echo 9 within weeks, perhaps days. Worse, the camp's radio beacon had drawn more and more refugees. If infected survivors spread beyond the perimeter, the outbreak could engulf the entire region, a foothold for the alien threat in an already fragile human world. He could not allow it. Arming himself with a salvaged plasma rifle and 2 fragmentation grenades, Keller prepared for incursion. He transmitted a single encrypted warning to distant resistance cells, uncertain if it would even reach them. Then he breached the sealed wing. Inside, the corridors were damp and coated with a strange resin, organic yet metallic. The walls breathed faintly. Webbing stretched from ceiling to floor, cocooning human remains in various stages of digestion. Movement flickered at the edge of Keller's vision, sleek forms darting through shadow. He opened fire, plasma bolts hissing through the gloom. 2 xenomorphs fell in shrieking convulsions, acidic blood eating through the metal grates. But more came, drawn by the noise. Keller advanced, relentless. His endoskeleton absorbed slashing claws and corrosive spit, synthetic flesh sloughing away in strips. He reached the main chamber, a vast space once used for cargo storage, now transformed into a hive. At its center, the queen. She rose from her throne of bone and resin, a towering nightmare of spines and teeth. Around her, dozens of eggs lay in neat rows, each one a promise of death. Keller targeted the egg clusters first, firing in controlled bursts. The queen screamed, sending her brood into a frenzy. Drones swarmed from every crevice, surrounding him. His rifle clicked empty. He hurled the grenades, the concussive blasts tearing through resin and flesh. He fought on even as his limbs failed. Hydraulic fluid sprayed from shattered joints. Optics dimmed. But Keller's core directive, preserve human life, drove him beyond failure. Pinned beneath the queen's tail, his systems failing, Keller enacted his final protocol. Deep in his damaged CPU, a microfusion core powered his frame. He overloaded it. The resulting detonation tore through the hive in a blinding inferno, incinerating eggs, drones, and queen alike. At dawn, survivors found the wreckage. Twisted steel and charred remains where the sealed wing once stood. No trace of Keller remained. Only later, when a resistance scout picked up the fragmented warning transmission, did they piece together what had happened. The camp had been saved, though at great cost. Among the survivors, a whispered legend began to spread, of a lone guardian, neither man nor machine, who had faced the darkness alone.